let's start off with hero improvements. Yeah.
Hero improvements.
That makes sense for me. All right.
Lawbringer changes.
We're gonna start with Lawbringer, right?
Wow.
So
For
Lawbringer, we've adjusted the speed of his dodge shove attacks, right? So front dodge shove is now 500 ms. It used to be 700.
Damn.
The side one is 533, 533 rather, down from 700. And we've also updated the recovery for them to be 700 instead of 4. Basically, at the speed they were at, they weren't really functional as openers or
That's
dodge
quite
attacks.
a change, isn't it?
So by doing this, we're really hoping to get Lawbringer a bit more opening ability, but to compensate. So the idea we had before is
bad recovery
they were safe, when they were dodged or whatever. They were like really, really difficult to punish, but they were really easy to avoid. So now we're trying to do the opposite, like we do with every other hero, which is they're harder to avoid, but they're easier to punish. So that's what.
Yeah, because he could parry dodge attacks, couldn't he? After his bash sometimes.
I know that's something I've seen players ask for.
So he can't now, which is good. I like that.
There. All right, Nuxia, right?
Nuxia.
So
that's a big
Echo
change,
Strike
man.
is now unblockable. Now,
what?
If you don't really know Nuxia that much, I'm sure chat right now is freaking out a little bit. Echo Strike is her deflect attack, right? So Echo Strike is now unblockable, which
that's
means
good.
That
it stops it getting blocked.
Auto blocked if you don't change your stance. Or
that's good. That's a good change.
So it'll always land, which is awesome. It's a really good quality of life change for Nuxia. And it also deals 20 damage. It used to do like a really, really high amount of damage because you had to kind of like do some shenanigans to make it work. With
that's a really smart fix.
Land. 20 damage is in line with what we have with a lot of deflect attacks. So this should work quite well. It's way better. So we should get there quite well. We've also we also made the crescent jab and crescent step, which are front dodge and side dodge lights. They're both enhanced.
Nice.
Again, like we want to give Nuxia a little bit.
Again, nice little quality of life change.
Get into chains, get into opponents. If something is blocked from external, your front dodge into light or whatever, then you have a bit more chance of getting into somebody's face and be able to defeat them. And we've also adjusted the time at which crescent jab, which is the front version, can be performed during the front dodge, right? So it used to be at 300 ms static. Now it's 100 to 400, so you can do it earlier. You can delay it a little bit more. Gives you more versatility there. That works really,
mix
well.
that up a little bit
more.
And
on top of that, we've also updated all of her weapon trajectories for side heavy attacks to match her weapons visuals a little bit better. And to be fair, they're also a little bit bigger than her weapons to give her better anti-gank. One of the problems that Nuxia has, on top of being a reflex guard hero, is that it's kind of hard to defend yourself when you get a bunch of people jumping onto you. So now you should be able to do her side heavies and get some people off of you at least a little bit more. So that should help there also a little bit and get her like a little bit higher up. Like she's not going to be like, the end all be all character, but at least those are really, really nice quality.
Nice changes for a start, until she gets a rework.
I'm so pumped because I've seen the comment of like give Nuxia an unblockable for literally years now. So it's so good to see it.
Yeah.
Actually,
but they're nice changes so far.
Yes, that's good. All right, now
we didn't forget her.
Yeah. Peacekeeper, right? So for Peacekeeper, we focused a bit on making her dodge attacks or side dodge attacks be a bit safer, right? So side step strike, which is a side dodge heavy, used to have like 700 ms of recovery.
Any warden changes?
A lot of people were able to kind of like side dodge into guard break on reaction, which was kind of bad. So we've really, really lowered the recovery of that attack by quite a bit on miss and on block, or not in terms of block and on hit, to make sure that the move is a lot safer to use in a lot of situations. And as well, the riposting stab, which is a deflect attack, now there's a medium hit reaction instead of a light, so you get better from advantage afterwards. If you do nothing, you're from advantage. If you want to go into chains or whatever, you get better mix up afterwards. And it also has a lower recovery on hits, now 400 ms. So it used to be longer. Again, here we're trying to give Peacekeepers attacks, like a lot of her dodge stuff and her deflect stuff, to be a bit safer, be more usable, and have like a bit more utility in different situations.
Okay.
Game mains rejoice.
Oh yeah.
Any specific changes on Warden?
Raider nerfs. So Raider is
off the top of my head, I can't really
performing, and we wanted to make sure that the hero was toned down a little bit, not massively, but enough that you kind of feel it a little bit. And so finding the hero is going to be less frustrating.
You could just need some new moves.
So first off, the stamina pool is now 120, which is like the standard stamina pool for most heroes. It used to be at 130, and on top of having a lot of soft feints, Raider has feels like he never runs out of stamina. So
I'm glad to see some damage.
It's gonna help that. It's gonna alleviate that a little bit, It's not like he still is really stamina efficient.
I'm glad to see
it's
some
not
damage
adding to his
nerfs,
stamina
man,
now, so that should make
because
a big difference.
it's
And then
way
we've
too
nerfed
easy to get damage
a
with him,
lot of
man.
his attacks for their damage down a little bit, right? So chain top heavy now
Fucking
deals 28,
toddler
chain side
can
heavy now
play
deals
Raider
26, so they used to deal 30
and
and
get damage,
27.
man. Do you know what I mean?
Mostly because the finishers now deal 30 and 28, and the zone attack and chains also deals 28. So the idea here is that we want to cap damage for those finishers at 30. Like
He's got so much tools. Do you know what I mean?
And
It's
so
like
we wanted to have
a little damage
be a
nerf
little bit more in
is
line with
not going to be the end of the
what
world.
other heroes have, on top of the hero having like really huge trajectories, hitting a bunch of different people, getting to a lot of stuff. So that should really help quite a bit in the situation there and be less frustrating to fight against raiders. That should be pretty good for everybody involved.
Yeah, just get him back down into like
it's barely enough. Yeah, I mean, it's
It's
not been buried into the ground, has it? Still
exactly,
good.
Right? So it's
strong.
really just a case of
still
how do we
decent
make
damage.
the hero
It's just
less
not a bit
frustrating to fight against without
overwhelming,
him,
you know.
Right? So that's kind of like the big deal here.
Yeah,
El nerf, shut up, man.
Raider comp memes. Like,
right. So okay, so then pirate nerfs. So we're doing one last round for now, at least, of pirate nerfs. So walk the plank now deals 24 damage instead of 27. Again, it's to lower the damage output of walk the plank. You get a guaranteed 5 damage shot afterwards.
Nice.
All those dodge cancels, all that sort of stuff. So we wanted to make sure that the move is still good, it's still usable, but at the same time it doesn't do like way too much damage. But we also adjusted how much revenge it feeds to 30, so it's as if it dealt 30 damage, but it deals 24 in terms of revenge only. So again, we want to like make sure the ganks with pirates are a little bit less effective. So that's one
pirate
big,
gank is a strong one. It should help. Yeah,
to crank it up a little bit, just enough that it still works. They're still good, but it's gonna be much more difficult to do repeated ganks, repeated walk the planks back and back and back to be able to kill somebody, to go from 100 to 0 really efficient.
Happy to see.
We've also lowered the damage of Cavalier Dance to 12. That's
I think Med J will get a nerf as well.
Used to deal 14. Again, a lot of these things are we're tweaking the damage here to make sure that like Pirate has different choices and different options.
And Shinobi
some of them
maybe
have drawbacks and some of them have benefits, right? So when we designed Pirate, a lot of what we were going for was have her have a lot of different options at any point in her kit. That's why there's the dodge cancels. You can dodge into side heavies, front heavies. You can go to walk the plank. A lot of different things. And because those options were quite strong, we're doing a bit too much damage. It kind of made the choice less impactful, right? So now if you want to go into a front dodge heavy and then get the armor, get the extra damage, get the flow going, well, you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit more damage. If you're going to walk the plank, it deals more damage.
I think the Tiandi and Valkyrie reworks will come with the new season.
Like there's those trade-offs here that we really want to focus and have.
I think they'll get launched next week.
Emphasis on player choice and expression and going, well, I play Pirate this way, you play Pirate that way, and it's always a little bit different. So that's the part of that nerf. And then the next one is a nerf, but it's also more of a bug fix.
Which Warden is weak, yeah. He's trashing fours as well.
Every single attack that leads to pistol blast on miss. Right?
He needs more in fours as well.
With your attack, the chaining timings are 300 ms up from 200. And that is because we had an issue that if your attack trajectory would hit an opponent after your mistiming on somebody, or even after you hit your main target, or if something happened and you hit an off target afterwards, you could target swap to them and then do a pistol blast, and that pistol blast would be guaranteed because the chaining timing was very, really short. I've seen a lot of people talk about this on Reddit. We've had discussions with pro players there. So with that being at 300 instead of 200, should really eliminate those situations and make sure that character is a lot more fair to fight against and get into like that better feeling of fighting a pirate. I know some players find her like oppressing and difficult to fight against. So hopefully these changes will really help.
Can't wait for the Yawn Mess Rafters rework.
That level down a little bit and make the character still feel good, but not feel as bad to play.
I'm excited to see.
But
the
JC, I was so enjoying glitch swapping, shooting everyone in the face.
Right?
Why would you take this away from me?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Warden is weak in force. Yeah, exactly.
It needed to stop.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to other improvements that are a bit more miscellaneous-y. So Warlord, uninterruptible stance. That's armor for people who don't know yet. On Warlord's heavy finishers, now it starts at 100 ms. It used to be 300. So at 100, it'll help the hero be a little bit better in group fights.
Okay.
Heavy finishers a bit more efficiently. We've also done another change to Centurion. So now there's two things, right? So every single move that could chain to jab on hit or block can also now chain to jab on miss. So you can do now jab, light rather, and if your opponent dodges it, you can go to jab afterwards. So that makes a bit of a difference here. Like it gives Centurion better ways to go into the character's mix-ups and get into a bunch of different things there. So that's really good. And we've also updated some other things to get that jab and the punch to really feel better and have track dodges better. To get that to work, we had to do two changes. First, I'm going to go to the second one because it's a little bit more complicated, but basically the maximum charge time for jab is now 1,000 ms, up from 800. This might seem like a nerf, but in actuality, if we wanted it to really like correctly track opponents that are early dodging, we needed to have that timing there. So you're going to charge for a little bit longer, but to compensate on top of this, the minimum charge is now 300 instead of 4, which means that in a lot of situations, people are going to have to dodge jab a little bit more on read than on reaction because you can have a little bit less time to react to it. And then them dodging earlier means that the full charge they're going to have is going to be a lot more likely to hit them. So I know there was like a lot of discussion about this, that we had fixed it. We had done a lot of changes to help it, but it was still situations where it wasn't working properly. So with this, it should be working properly in most situations. So it's really going to help in those like really weird edge cases that happen a bit more often.
Delete button, charging.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, next up, Gladiator. I know a lot of people have been asking for this, and we've actually brought it back. So Fushina Ictus, which is toe stab, we've brought back the fact that it unbalances opponents that are out of stamina, and we brought back the bulb animation where you hit them in the toes, punch them in the face.
So good.
Yeah, I know people were really sad when we removed it, and we kind of had to remove it when we did that rework, because otherwise it created situations where Gladiator was way too strong and somebody was out of stamina. You can do like, I don't remember how much, but an incredibly high amount of damage. But now that we've actually patched in and changed the way that stamina gets back to full whenever you get up, it means that whenever you land a Fushina Ictus and your opponent falls down, they're going to get back up to full stamina, and you're not going to be able to go back into that mix-up over and over and over and over again. So that should be
interesting. That's good.
Here. Should be really
I guess that's good.
Kyoshin Tengukaze, which is a down stance heavy, like the full block stance heavy, now costs 12 stamina.
Oh, is that the unblockable?
20.
That's
we wanted
good
to make
change.
Sure that Kyoshin had a bit more options that were more stamina effective, stamina efficient rather, to be able to open up opponents. So that's a big change here. 8 stamina doesn't seem like much, but it's actually a big deal in a lot of situations.
Oh yeah,
so good. Yeah. Zanhu, so a bit of a nerf to his to the character's heavy finisher's damage. They now deal 28 instead of 32. So first of all, 32 was too high, regardless, right? And then we picked 28 and we went down to that level because Zanhu has a feat called Winner's Advantage, and we don't want to nerf Winner's Advantage and remove a lot of effectiveness from it, but it causes your next attack to deal a lot of damage, which meant that Zanhu, after pretty much every single hit, could deal like something like close to 38 damage.
Oh, so that's why Zanhu melts you in fucking Dominion.
We also lower the damage that Winner's Advantage ends up giving for Zanhu. It still goes above 30, but it doesn't go massively above 30. It doesn't go to like 38 or something, which was like completely crazy.
That's good change.
That's a little bit lower. Should help out a lot in those situations.
Very good changes so far.
Last but not least, for Shinobi, the dodge kicks now pinned for 800 ms instead of 1100. That should help. That should help a lot of gang situations. Like Shinobi was able to use the dodge kicks, pin opponents with them, get their opponents to be like in that pin reaction for a long period of time, get a guaranteed heavy from an ally. You barely had to time it. It was pretty easy to do. With this, you need to be able to throw that heavy quicker, earlier, a bit more on read almost. So it's a lot harder it should be harder to set up these ganks.
Interesting.
But the attacks are still guaranteed afterwards, like for Shinobi. So it shouldn't impact the hero in 1v1
be interesting to see that.
Gank situations should make a big difference. And on top of that, Shadow Strike, which is the light attack that's guaranteed after a parry, now deals 14 damage instead of 18.
Okay.
And we made that change because that attack leads to a really potent mix-up for Shinobi. And so it gave Shinobi a bit too much damage, too much pressure whenever he was landing like a heavy parry,
change.
Right? So it dealt too much damage baseline, and then on top of that was giving a really good mix-up. So we lowered it down to a more normal level of damage.
Really win changes so far, though.
For a heavy parry punish, rather, and you get like more standard damage here.
Nobugank will be fine.
I'm excited for him to not basically be like just a ham slapping samurai nail gun.
We'll see what happens when the competitive guys get their hands on it, and
it was out of control.
I'm sure they'll come up with some fucking
that needed to change there, so that was the
crazy shit.
Okay, so we have other improvements.
Oh,
right? So,
wow!
This is a big one.
Wow! FOV slider on
console.
So
Holy
shit!
Really good. It's a great improvement. So we're gonna show you like 2 different screens, what it looks like. This
is you guys are gonna be so happy with that.
So this is what it looks like when you normally.
That's gonna help you so much in fucking
on PC. You can,
FOV4s.
But on console, you absolutely cannot. You could not change it, but we've made it so you can be changed. So we could go to the next slide and see this is what it's at its largest.
It's about time though, isn't it?
You see that the difference is the camera's a bit more pulled back. You see wider. You see more of your characters like legs and stuff. So it really helps in a lot of situations. Shouldn't really have any impact on frame rate or whatever. So that's pretty good. And it really helps you play in a lot of situations to see like a lot wider. So that's really, really good in my opinion.
Yeah, you guys are happy with that.
Off to the team for like the optimizations that have happened in the game
you
over
guys would be happy with
the lifetime of the game. Because I know back in the day, this used to
that's
wreck
big
consoles.
for you console guys.
Like it's no problem.
Yeah, we're good.
Huzzah!
I'm happy for you guys, man. I'm happy for you.
Okay, another thing we're doing in this patch is we're improving some things about executions. So if you knew, or maybe you didn't know, so I'll explain to you, right? Is that some executions, not all of them.
I think Freeze was talking about this.
Been doing, some of
videos.
them from the early heroes didn't really have that issue, but a lot of executions would force you to go out of lock when the end, either if you got hit or at the end of the execution, they'd force you to go out of lock. Created a lot of situations where opponents could come in and get multiple hits on you because you were out of lock, and you get different hit reaction when you're out of lock, and then it was hard to get to get by that. So we've removed that completely. So no execution should ever force you to go out of lock when the end. That was a big undertaking. We had to go into every single execution that we have in the game.
Rip my shaman punches.
Some of you probably
these
know,
changes are amazing so
them,
far.
Like, do a lot of changes there. So like kudos to him. It was a lot of work there, and a lot of work on the tech team as well to make sure that we had like tools to really test that out.
JC is the fucking man.
And the other thing is that some executions also forced a specific stance.
I want some warden changes.
So it would force you to go like top,
come on,
left,
JC,
to right.
Man. My warden's suffering. Not gonna lie.
That's also been removed, so you always stay in the stance you were in if you keep locked.
Please, JC.
When you perform an execution. So again, that's a lot of like quality of life improvements there, but it's very important so that your executions are actually safer and you don't get really heavily punished for performing an execution.
Yeah, you can use them all.
Yes. Here they are.
All right, and then I'm super happy to say that
this season's exciting, man.
Are now live. So super cool. We're really happy that testing grounds went well.
Let's go.
We got a lot of feedback on both heroes, so we're super hyped. So Valkyrie stayed relatively the same. Like
any
most
changes?
of the things are unchanged. We know that the hero, like a lot of the feedback we've gotten for Valkyrie was that the hero felt maybe like a little bit different, a little bit odd to play, but then a lot of people also mentioned that once you do get into the groove and you get to understand the character, she works way better, and it's actually
you've got to give it time to adjust.
Put in. So we've decided to keep her mostly as is. There's some improvements you can see in the patch notes. You'll see like the changes that we've made from the current, like from the previous live Valkyrie to the new live Valkyrie. We're not going to go into details because it's too much stuff there. It's going to take
okay.
We all have other things to do. I'd love to be here for 6 hours, but I think people would kill me. So that's it for Valkyrie. But for Tiandi, I have a couple of notes so we can go. So for Tiandi, the hero also, the rework went really well, right? People really liked it. There was a lot of stuff there that was appreciated, a lot of quality of life, a lot of good stuff. But there was also some more negative feedbacks that we've addressed. So first off, we've reverted the dragon dodge changes. So that means that in the testing grounds, we had tried to speed up the side dodge heavies a little bit so that they could be more effectively used as dodge attacks and not necessarily as repositioning tools. But as it turns out, a lot of players actually gave us feedback that felt bad. The soft feints from it were hard to do, and players were mostly using it to reposition, and they really missed that functionality. So we heard you, we listened. It's back to how it was.
Okay, I think I prefer that, to be honest.
I think, like, this is why we do testing grounds, right? Sometimes there's feedbacks about things that people don't like, and we're like, well, okay, it's reasonable, so we're gonna put it back. What this means is for Tiandi, if you want to be able to do like more reliable side dodge attacks. You have to do tiger dodges, but you have to delay them a little bit, which was still possible beforehand. So if you were doing it before, you can still do it now. It won't be a problem. We've also reverted the dragon kick soft feint to dodge removal, right? So by that I mean right now on the live Tiandi, if you do a dragon kick, you can soft feint the dragon kick into a dodge, and you can go into like tiger dodges or whatever you wanted to do. And so we had removed that in the testing grounds because our feeling was you could feint dragon kick, so you no longer needed that soft feint. But again, a lot of players were like, "Well, no, actually, we really like to have that soft feint." So we kept it. To be fair, dragon dodge can still be hard feinted, and it might be better in some cases to hard feint because then you can get parries off of people that dodge attacking. That might even be better.
Am I actually going to play Tiandi?
To a dodge and go into tiger dodge or into whatever you like to do.
Am I actually going to get past again, like rep 1?
You can get into what you wanted to do, so that's good.
Have all the options.
Right, yeah. And then finally, we had changed the delay timing to top dragon dodge. So you could do it only a little bit later into the dodge. And that was because we didn't want to get into situations where you would do dragon kick into top dragon dodge and then repeat over and over and over again and get that kind of vortex feeling. We really wanted to encourage players to use the new follow-up we've done for a dragon kick. But at the end of the day, this had a really big negative impact on the safety of some attacks. People like to do like a palm strike into a top heavy before the rework that had armor. And so with this, you can actually do palm front dodge, dragon dodge, and get armor back earlier to be able to trade with different things, right? So that was like, it was a bit of a puzzle there to get that going into where exactly things needed to fit.
No, season launch, man.
Sometimes after dragon kick,
not right now, I don't think.
Dodge, if somebody hit a wall or whatever.
Season launch next week.
In most cases, you shouldn't be able to. We did a couple of other tweaks. So I would say go look at the patch notes, look at what we've done, and you can test it out and see for yourself. But we really have a good feeling on Tiandi and Valkyrie both. I think they're a lot more viable. They're a lot more fun to play. They're super interesting characters. So
wait, man.
Again,
they both feel
season's looking incredible so far.
It's amazing, right? And so big kudos to the team. I know
all those fucking changes, like big win,
like a lot of players gave us a lot of good feedback on this. Exactly the kind of feedback we like to see. And even in the case of Valkyrie, when it's I'm not sure, I prefer the old Valkyrie or whatever, but then that's why those testing rounds run for a week, and then people can give like more feedback and go, well, actually, it feels different, but in a good way and not in a bad way. So we really pushed for this, and I think we have the best iteration of Valkyrie we've ever had. So I'm super hyped about that.
Yeah, and it just underscores like the importance of testing grounds and the feedback that we get from that, and players being like really honestly specific with their feedback, because general feedback of like, I don't like it is fine, but it really helps us when you're like, oh, well, I really liked XYZ, but, ABC I didn't like. Then we can really, hone in and fine tune. And that's where we see stuff like reverting the Tiandi dragon kick stuff. Or dragon dodge stuff.
Yeah, so that's great. I'm really happy. So keep it up. We have more TG stuff coming later in the show. So again, I can't wait to get people's
big win, man. Big win.
That as well.